action.
Hi everyone, today we have Alex. He will present his material on Laozi, in particular the most famous notion of Laozi's philosophy, Tao. And I guess he will guide us through all those complex and ambiguous theoretical vistas of Tao, because it's very complex notion epistemologically and ontologically, because Tao manifests itself as a being, as a nothingness. So in this way there is a link between Laozi's philosophy and 20th century existentialism. So, saying no more, Alex.
Thank you, Michael. That was a very good introduction. Thank you for all of you coming here on this rainy night. And I know how in Taipei when it rains it's really troublesome to go out, especially on a Sunday evening. Today I'm going to talk about being and nothingness in Laozi's philosophy. I have already given 2 speeches about Laozi in this forum. The first one was about the general ideas of Laozi's philosophy. The second one was about some contemporary interpretation and misconceptions. This one will be specifically on Laozi's metaphysic, or ontology, usually known. Well, to begin with, I would like to say what we consider as Laozi's philosophy is the philosophy expounded by the author or the authors in the book which was named Laozi, and then became known as Tao Te Ching. In English it's usually translated as the Classic of Tao and Te, or the Book of the Way and its Virtue. What we have today as Tao Te Ching is known as the standard version, and it passed through edition and commentaries mostly by two persons, Wang Bi and He Shanggong. The years of He Shanggong are not sure, but Wang Bi was a real person who, as you can see, died very young, at the age of 23 years. Despite the claim that Tao Te Ching was written as a political advice to the ruler in power, still there is a metaphysical thought developed in the Tao Te Ching. The basic. Okay. Actually, I wanted to say that in 1973, in a place called Mount Clay, there was discovery of Laozi's original of Tao Te Ching in silk scrolls dated around 195 BC, and in Wodian in 1993, bamboo slips dated around 300 BC. They are important because they are a little bit different from the standard version we have today, and bring maybe a little confusion about what we know about Laozi, and also a more detailed explanation about probably what Laozi really meant. So these are the silk scrolls, how they look like, and the bamboo sleeves. Well, I'm going to quote from the English translation of Win-Si Chan, this book, and let's go. The basic metaphysical statement of Laozi is this: there was something undifferentiated and yet complete which existed before heaven and earth. Soundless and formless, it depends on nothing and does not change. It operates everywhere and is free from danger. It may be considered the mother of the universe. I do not know its name. I call it Tao. If forced to give it a name, I shall call it Great. So as we can see, for Laozi, there is something that existed before the world. This world depends on this, so it cannot exist by itself. And this something is something that we cannot really grasp it by our sensual experience. We cannot see it, we cannot touch it, we cannot hear it. So we use the name, Laozi proposed that we use the name Tao as a name that is designating a reality that is far from our sensual grasp. So related to this is the next sentence: the Tao that can be told of is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So according to Laozi, we can use language only for the phenomenal world, or only for the things that exist around us. If we use language to express the origin of the world, then we fail to do it. That's why we use the word Tao, which is not really a real name for Tao. It's just the name that we give it to it. And that's why it says the Tao that can be told of is not the eternal Tao. So we cannot say anything about Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name, which means if we see an object like a table, we name the table because we see the characteristics of a table and we recognize it as a table. So this is a name in this world, which is not eternal name. The eternal name is the Tao is not a name in this world. Okay. From this, we can go to the next one. The same chapter 1 continues saying, the nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. The name is the mother of all things. Here already we have these indications of the being and nothingness. The word Wu is usually translated as non-being or nothingness, and the word Yo, being. Or if we put them together, Wu Ming is the having no name, and Yo Ming is having name. As you can see, the English translation goes for Wu Ming and Yo Ming, which means nameless and named. So what can we consider as having no name is the origin, is the support of the world. What can we consider as having a name is the producer of all the things. Here how it goes. Let's say the previous sentence that we see, you can see the standard edition, there is no punctuation between the Wu, Ming, here, there is no punctuation, right? Some interpreters put punctuation after the word name, so in English it becomes nameless, or after the word Yo Ming, it becomes named. Some editions put punctuation after U and Yo, which becomes nothingness is the name of the origin of heaven and earth. Being is the name of the mother of all things. Now, we can ask ourselves, is this very different? Are these two punctuations, interpretations, different from between each other? Well, basically, I think they are going along the same line. The thing is that there is a difference between ontological understanding, and then we have nothingness and being, and epistemological, or something that is related to our understanding using language and sensual experience. Then we say nameless and named. In reality, nameless and nothingness, named and being are actually the same things, refers to the same thing. And these same things are actually two manifestations of Tao. The same chapter 1 of Tao Te Ching says the two, which means talking about the being and the nothingness, are the same, but after they are produced, they have different names. So, being and nothingness are Tao's two manifestations. They represent Tao's double character, as I said, in both ontological and epistemological sense. Ontologically speaking, Tao manifests itself as being and nothingness. Epistemologically speaking, Tao manifests itself as having name and having no name. So far, I think we are clear what Laozi wants to say, that this has to do with the relation between Tao and this existing world. Tao manifests first as a non-being and then as a being. And after the being, there comes all things. All things in the world come from being, and being comes from non-being. But here we have to be careful. There is no priority in time. This is a logical priority. So, in order this world to exist, there must be the support and the producer of this world. And then, in order the world to be produced, there must be the producer, which is the being. In order the being to exist, there must be the non-being. I don't know if you can understand it. This is just a logical priority. It's like, for example, we are humans. But can we be humans without being animals? So in order that we are humans, we first have to be animals, or first have to be living creatures, and there is no priority in time. It's just a logical priority. This priority actually if you see chapter 52 says, there was the beginning of the universe, which may be called the mother of the universe. Now, it seems like there is a contradiction, because we already said that the beginning is the non-being, and the mother is the producer is the being. But here Laozi identifies them, and this actually confirms what I said before, that the being and the nothingness are actually the same, just they have different names. And the recently discovered bamboo slips probably help a little bit to understand, because the bamboo slips are considered to be older than the standard version. So probably the standard version is changed during the centuries. And it says, all things in the world come from being, come from non-being. So here we have identification of being and non-being as origin and producer of the world. Yes. The distinction between nothingness and being is the same as that between substance and function. Although these words substance and function sound very Western, they were actually they were used during the centuries. Substance is T, function is Yong. So as substance, nothingness is something that gives the support of the world. As function is maybe let's say the more active aspect, although I wouldn't want to distinguish them in passivity and activity. But even if we say that the substance is passivity, it's not in the same way as in the Western thinking we understand passivity. In Chinese thinking, passivity is also part of some process. So maybe later the new Confucians, they would use this like there was passivity, and by passivity was created the yin, and by activity there was yang was created. So we can see that the passivity is part of the process, not just total tranquility. From this ontological and epistemological understanding of being and nothingness, and nameless and name, we come to objectively try to understand that Tao as substance is the origin and support of the world, and as function is the producer of all existence. Subjectively, only understanding that we can have it for ourselves as our reasoning allows, because we are limited. Subjectively, we try to understand Tao through opposite terms. How does it work? In chapter 2, Laozi says, when the people of the world all know beauty as beauty, there arises the recognition of ugliness. When they all know the good as good, there arises the recognition of evil. Therefore, being and non-being produce each other. Difficult and easy complete each other. Long and short contrast each other. High and low distinguish each other. Sound and voice harmonize each other. Front and behind accompany each other. Here Laozi is talking about the world of our sensual experience. If we say that something is beautiful, that means that there must be something that is ugly, that is not beautiful, or good and bad. These are the opposite terms. I mean, how can we recognize that something is beautiful if we don't have the idea of ugliness? How can we recognize that some sound is very beautiful to hear if we don't know what are the ugly sounds? And it can be same for everything, like table. Okay, what is the opposite of table? Maybe someone would say chair. Logically speaking, table and not table. So everything that is not table. Now, okay, how can we understand Tao through this? What is non-Tao, or what is the opposite of Tao? Of course, there is nothing. So this is different from probably some Western traditions where good and evil, like the origin of the world, there is a good, but there is evil also. Like who was in Persia? Okay, doesn't matter. Yes. So Tao is. That's why we are trying to understand Tao through opposite terms, and we introduce the being and the non-being. Otherwise, we cannot understand how Tao functions. At the end, okay, I think I went very fast. Okay, being afraid that we have limited time. I would like to use the metaphor of mathematics. Let's say in mathematics we have numbers and we have zero. Zero is the absolute nothingness. So in mathematics, the difference between 0 and 1 is the same as the difference between 1 and 2. Or the difference between 0 and 100 is the same as the difference between 100 and 200, and so on, so on. But then if we took the numbers and put them in ontology, then we would see that the difference between 0 and 1 is bigger than the difference between 1 and 2. Actually, the difference between 1 and 0 is bigger than the difference between 1 and 100. And we can go until the infinite number. Why is that? Because 0 is nothingness, it's emptiness. And 1, 2, and the other numbers are already something. So the differences between the something are differences between only the something. But then if we compare them with the nothing, we can see the difference is much greater. So why is this related to Laozi? Actually not much, but I wanted to come to explanation that this is the Western ontology, understanding that the nothingness is absolute zero, is absolutely nothing. Laozi's understanding is not like this. For him, the zero, or the non-being, is already something, it's not just an emptiness. So Laozi's concept of nothingness is not absolute emptiness. It is a concept with positive character in both its substance and its action. This positive character, this content in the nothingness is what is usually called wu wei. So Laozi said Tao invariably takes no action, and yet there is nothing left undone. By taking no action, Laozi Tao manifests the nothingness, the non-being aspect. And by leaving nothing undone, manifests the being aspect, the yo aspect. So as nothingness, Tao takes no action, or wu-weis, like a verb. As being, Tao leaves nothing undone, wu-bu-weis. The fullness of the nothingness can be seen by this sentence of Laozi. 30 spokes are united through the hub to make a wheel, but it is on its non-being that the utility of the carriage depends. Clay is molded to form a utensil, but it is on its non-being that the utility of the utensil depends. Doors and windows are cut out to make a room, but it is on its non-being that the utility of the room depends. So we usually say that this is an empty space. This is a room with an empty space. It's nothing. It's just emptiness. It's actually, but we are using this emptiness, so it's not really an empty space, just that we can throw it away. Yeah, we're coming to the end soon. I mentioned at the beginning ontology. That's the science of the being, and usually it comes from the Western philosophy. It was later imposed to Chinese philosophy, and say that the ontology of Laozi or the ontology of any philosophers, like what I was talking about now, is considered an ontology, but not really, actually. The ontological thinking was thinking of the Western philosophers, and here is a big difference between Western and Laozi's philosophy. As I mentioned, the Western philosophy understands the non-being as absolute nothingness. Since Parmenides and Plato, they discarded non-being. Parmenides said, there is the being, I'm paraphrasing, but there is no non-being, and that's it. It was all finished, and we're only in the world of being. As we see, so Laozi understands non-being as something else, as full with content. This way of thinking in Western philosophy was going all the way until 20th century. We can see Heidegger. We had a speech of Heidegger, especially about being and language, and Heidegger draws a lot from Laozi. He was amazed that some people even say that he had the best understanding of Tao Te Ching, and he thought that Parmenides and Plato made a very big mistake by throwing away the nothingness. So at the end, if Laozi is not in the field of ontology, then where is he? In the 70s, a new term was introduced, me-ontology, which means going beyond ontology, because he's talking about non-being. So ontology if we use ontology, we are talking about being. Me ontology, we are talking about non-being. The Western philosophers didn't talk about non-being, they don't have me ontology. Another term can be used, it's called trans-metaphysics. So we are going beyond the metaphysics. And I think here is the end of my speech. Thank you very much.